This week's episode is sponsored by Current Jerker Designs. When you're a promoter of any kind, one main obstacle you face is, how do I get more attention for my business? With Current Jerker Designs, you get over 10 years of experience with their creative marketing services. Reach out to Derek Sharp at currentjerkerdesigns.com. Again, that's currentjerkerdesigns.com, or you can email Derek directly to derek@currentjerkerdesigns.com.
All right, thanks for listening to this episode of Twos in the Face Wrestling podcast. On today's episode, we are continuing the run of buffet line episodes with new guests. Our guest right now is in the waiting room. That's right, Chris. Wrestling is a buffet. That's why we have these buffet line episodes. How do you feel like our episodes have been as of recent? I feel like they've been like pretty good, really good interviews.
Yeah, I mean, not to obviously, pat ourselves in the back, but no,
sounded kind of braggadocious, so sorry about that.
No. I mean, absolutely. Like we've definitely gone from a format of doing this buffet style like episodes here and there sporadically, while also covering shows. COVID did introduce other formats that we have done in the past, such as watch-alongs. And I think now getting back to the buffet line episodes, it has allowed us to learn more about the wrestlers and getting to kind of meet people at a different level also, right? We admire the work that they do up there, but then getting them to go through a wrestling buffet line has been pretty cool. I mean, the last one we had was Stephen Wolf.
Yeah.
So like super fun episode. And then today I'm actually at home. I'm back at the casa.
I see.
Which, feels 10 times better than being at the office and being worried about the cleaning lady coming in at any time and start vacuuming. So
we're gonna save that rivalry with you and the cleaning lady. We'll build to something, but you need to maybe take a week off of that program. Versus
for sure.
Cleaning lady. Yeah. You got like a cool light going on, and it's like a blue light or something like that. Is that what I'm seeing?
Yeah, I have some background lights. I've been upgrading a little bit. I think I've done this before.
You do it consistently while I just stay the same.
Well, you eventually have to find that Ethernet cable, Charlie, so you're not freezing up over
No,
there.
I am plugged in. That is the upgrade that I did do during one of our conversations. I was a little laggy, and I have plugged it, so I'm officially plugged in right now. The coolest part about doing this like a run of buffet of interviews that we've had is we've had people on our we had a list, right? These are the people we want to interview.
Mm-hmm.
Some of those names sat for a while, and now we've been able to it's almost kind of like that thing I kind of don't want to do. I do want to do it, but it's just like it's overdue and it's long overdue, and like I'm excited to do it, but I keep pushing it off. Like those were like some of the people that we talked to. Like we want to interview them, but it's just like our conversation with Stephen Wolf, amazing conversation, great guy. He was on our list for like a while, and it's just like, okay, let's finally start doing and we like covering shows, but let's finally start kind of like churning through these. Our guest today, I feel like, has been on that list as well ever since you kind of like built a relationship with him at shows, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously one of the things that took me a really long time to get to was to finally make it out to the Galli Arena, right? Like we had gone to various different promotions, but just because Galli ran on a Sunday, it was a little harder to barter with Carla on that one, right? Like I was at work all week, and then on Fridays, Saturdays, I will go to a wrestling show. So I kind of had to be like, all right, Sunday is the day that we'll do something throughout the whole day and not be missing at the end of the night or something like that. So
right.
I finally made it out to Galli. I got the full experience, and then I started learning about the Galli luchadors and like when I think of luchadors, I think of the people that I grew up watching, El Santo, Blue Demon Jr., La Parca, and all these iconic characters, but also getting introduced to the local scene of luchadors. Like it's we say wrestling is a buffet, but within that we embrace lucha libre, the strong style, the hardcore style, like everything involved, just wrapped around that phrase of wrestling is a buffet. there's something there for everyone. Um, so getting to know Golden Dragon
Yep.
and the bloodline that goes with him as well, right? And growing up in a wrestling family, it's also, you know, a cool aspect. So like you said, long overdue. We had him on our internal list for a long time,
Mhm.
and it's also been a goal for me to you know get some of the Gali guys over
Right.
and just kind of talking to them and getting them through this buffet line. It's something that it's been long overdue, and I'm glad he's here. So I'm gonna bring him right in.
All right.
Golden Dragon.
Hey,
Yo,
Hey, thanks for hanging out in the waiting room. How was it
no
in there?
problem. No problem at all.
Great. So Chris has a very well-themed shirt, I think, for our conversation today, and that man's going to be brought up and mentioned a couple times.
Yeah.
But no, it's really cool to have you on. Chris is. I kind of usually lead the questions. I'm obviously going to be here. I want to be here for this conversation.
Yep.
I was at a concert last night on a Tuesday, and
on
it
a
was
Tuesday, Charlie. What's wrong with you?
it was a pretty big band. I don't know if you've heard of Weezer.
Weezer, right? Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, and at Aragon, and it was like a pretty intimate venue.
Oh, nice.
And but my brain is working at like 25% capacity right now. So if I'm just like zoning out, please forgive me. But no, we're super excited to have you. And welcome to the buffet line. Yeah, but I think Chris is going to lead the questioning here, so I don't babble on too much like I'm doing right now.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm excited for this one.
Definitely.
Awesome. All right. So, you know, welcome aboard. Let me just kind of break down the wrestling buffet line and the segments that we're going to cover, so we can get things rolling here. You know, and for those who are not familiar with us, this is what we do when we bring a guest over, and most of the time we'll take them through the wrestling buffet line. That consists of a salad bar, right? So if you were going to a buffet, you go to the salad bar first, you know, get your fresh takes, get a little um accustomed to what's going to come next. So that will be the main course. What do you put on that main plate, the hot plate? Which in our case, we're asking, you know, more questions to get to know, in this case, Golden Dragon, and maybe some stuff about his recent appearances in really big stages, which I'm super excited about.
Yeah.
And then we'll cap off with the dessert, right? Some guilty pleasures, some things outside of wrestling, and then we'll finish off with word association, which basically will be a list of 10 words, 10 things that I'll throw at a Golden Dragon, and then your response should be a one word answer,
Okay.
right? So we'll cross that bridge when we get there. You know,
yeah, don't worry
and we'll
about
see
that
how
part
you
yet.
do. Yeah.
Okay.
So how should I address you? Golden Dragon, full name? Golden Dragon?
Whatever. I mean, Golden for sure. For short. I mean, everybody calls me Golden all the time because it's like really easy to say, like, you know. But usually, like at the galley locker room, there's two Golden, like Golden Star and Golden Dragon.
Mhm.
So sometimes, whenever somebody like usually calls out Golden, like we both turn around and it usually ends up being him, not me. I'm usually being the one sitting in the corner just waiting, you know.
Being too modest there. So
Yeah.
you know, usually we'll kick off with a different question, but right now I want to ask, how did that name come to be about? Golden Dragon.
It's like I remember like the very first time that I wanted to be a wrestler. It was like the age of like 12, maybe 11. And that was like before I started training and stuff. And at that time, I was like a big fan of like the Japanese culture and like watching all these martial arts movies and stuff. And then slowly but surely, I started to stumble upon like the Lucha Libre and stuff.
Mhm.
And I was like, you know what? It's like, what if you just mix golden with dragon? I mean, gold isn't not really my favorite color. Like my favorite color is red, but like something about gold captured like my idea of like maybe being like the top or like the best, you know, like gold, you know. But like it just came together like that, and I was like, all right, I might as well just stick with it and see what happens.
The mask design feels very Ultimo Dragon to me.
Yeah.
Kind of with the flaps and maybe the kind of the top of it. Is that was that inspired by that?
I mean, it was inspired with that, and then initially the design like wasn't made for me. Skydie gave it to me, like the whole design and everything, like the whole
Okay.
suit.
Oh wow.
He was like, "Here, this is for you." It's like I feel like it fits you and your, name. Hopefully, you do something with it, and then, go with it. And then I did notice like it had the Ultimo Dragon resemblance, and I was like, you know what? It's like during when I was watching like WWE and all that stuff, I was a big fan of Ultimo Dragon as well. So I was like, you know what? Might as well stick with it, but just change a couple of things so it doesn't look just like Ultimo Dragon because I don't want to be like the ripoff and stuff.
Sure.
You know?
I I think you need a pic. Have you ever seen the picture with Ultimo Dragon and he's holding like 6 belts on each arm?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's amazing photo. I think you need to try to recreate that, not in the sense of like, yes, it just kind of play on that. But no, I never once saw you were a knockoff
No,
in any sense.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how it came about.
Cool.
So I guess then the actual question that we kick things off with is, what part of wrestling do you like, or what do you like about wrestling? Right. And also if you can throw in there some the lucha background, right? Like, do you consider lucha being within wrestling? Is lucha its own thing?
I mean, I feel like now at this point in wrestling, I feel like lucha should be part of the whole term of wrestling because it's just a different style of wrestling. Like just as is strong style and just as like a Greco-Roman style or like like so I feel like lucha for me means, I mean, for me what captured it was like the elegance, the high flying, how the heels were so interacting with the crowd, but in their own way, and not in like a baby face way. So I was like, wow, this is like really cool. But at the same time, it was like I was watching all these high flyers, so I wanted to be them, but I didn't know how to be them at the end of the day. But my dad was like the very first person to show me wrestling, like
Cool.
Lucha Libre. So
Yeah.
he took me like at the Galli shows and stuff, and we are always front row. And then from there, it was like, okay, I think this dream might be possible, but like I didn't know how to start with the dream.
So you were going to shows, you were going to Galli shows before you started wrestling there?
Yeah, I was a fan at like 11, 12. That was at the same age when I was watching wrestling and stuff.
Cool.
And my dad was the very first person to take me because he was like a super fan, and every fan in that building knew who my dad was because he was always the one yelling. He was always saying something. He had he had different like wrestling masks, like Dr. Wagner, Octagon. Every show he had a different mask, and I was like, man, his collection's growing. Everybody knows him. And then all of a sudden, like one of these shows, these random shows, he just slides in and then takes like a fireman's carry bump, and I'm like, where's this coming from? You know?
That's awesome.
I was like, what is happening? And so secretly he was training to be like a wrestler. He didn't tell us or I'm guessing my mom knew, but I didn't know anything about him training and stuff. So the next show, that's when he debuted, and from there on, I was like, damn, I literally thought he was a superhero because he was doing all this stuff that I saw on TV with all these cool luchadors. I was like, man, it's like I wanted to be him because everybody was applauding him, cheering him, and he was like all soaking it in because he's just like that. He's charismatic, just like without the mask or with the mask. He's just like that in real person. So I was like, well, people really love him, and I want to feel that same energy from the people.
Yeah, imagine that immersion, right? I mean, how can you not buy it if you don't know your dad's training and then he gets in there and starts fighting?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, this is definitely, this is 100% real.
Exactly.
There's no way.
I was ready to jump in, but I couldn't. 12-year-old me, scrawny, I couldn't. With those big old giants, I couldn't do it.
I appreciate too. This is the part of the episode where I admit that I stalked the person's Instagram because I do that every episode. So I stalked your Instagram, but I appreciate the dedication to the mask and no one seeing your face too, because I feel like you're wearing that now, right? You can watch this on our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
But then even in Instagram photos you've taken, you put like a little smiley emoji over that. So
Yeah.
I just want to point that out, that like in scrolling in your Instagram, that's something I noticed, and I thought that was really cool. So the mask obviously so important in this style of wrestling.
It's always important. It was instilled from like the very first day that I started training. Disco was always the one that was saying like you gotta follow these rules because that's how he was trained. So I was not really forced, but I was disciplined to follow those rules. And one of those rules was to like whenever you're before showing up to a show, always have your mask on, or always have your face covered in some type of way, or always put your mask on. Be professional.
Yeah.
And then when you're taking photos, at least have exactly the same thing. Have your mask on or cover your face so nobody knows like who you are because it's sacred. It's like it's like you got to play the part.
Yeah. Do you?
So,
A random question just popped in my head. Would you ever do like a mask versus mask or like a mask ripping or angle or anything like that? Like, do you like those type of angles, or would you not do them, or does it have to be the right
I
scenario?
mean, if the matches was right,
Yeah.
might be like I'm always open for like any type of match, no matter what. If they think if a different wrestler comes up to me and says like, "Hey, I want to do mask versus mask,"
Yeah.
of course, I mean you have to have like a reason for it,
Yeah.
and at the same time you have to be well trained for it, because it's definitely like a big money, not really big money match, but it's like really important because you're taking somebody's mask, their
Yeah.
identity, their character. So it
Right.
has to be like really important, and like it has to be at the right time at the right place. But I'm always open for like those kind of matches because you never know what happens.
Right. No, I think it's got to have meaning for sure.
Yeah.
I remember we got to like we did like an interview with people before an AAW show once, and I remember there was a person who I didn't recognize training in a ring with someone else, and then later that someone else wrestled Ray Phoenix, and in my head I was like, oh shit, I walked by Ray Phoenix without his mask on, wrestling this guy before the show, and I was like pissed about it. I was like, fuck, I don't want to see that. Like, I don't want to know what Ray Phoenix looks like under there unless it means something, Like, and my brain broke for a second. So I just wanted to ask that question. But yeah, Chris, back to the agenda.
Yeah. So to wrap up the salad bar, and this great introduction to your character and the mask, you reference your dad? Can you talk about the you know your family? Like you guys are a lucha family.
Yeah, I mean, it all started with him. He was like the first person to initiate this kind of a dream of wrestling, and then again, I repeat, like when I saw him debut and stuff, I really thought it was really cool. And the next day, I came up to him and I told him, "Hey, Dad, I want to be a wrestler. I want to start training. I want to, I want to do this." And I kind of like forced my brother Tridor to come and train with me, and he was like, "What?"
He's older, right?
Yeah, he's younger. I'm the
He's
oldest.
young. You're
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, by 1 year. Everybody thinks I'm like the youngest because maybe like I look young, but like without the mask, everybody thinks, "Oh, you're like 24, 25." I'm like, "No, I'm 26. I'm almost 27." Like
That'll be a good thing once you start getting into the 30s if you can look young. So
I'm starting to feel that way, but and then so I told him like I want to do this, and he initially told me, he's like, if you want to do this, it's gonna be really hard. It's gonna be, you have to stick with this. Like you can't quit. You can't be a quitter. And I was sitting there thinking, it's like, let's do it. Let's just do it. And then I remember like showing up, and it was like a weird place, like out of the middle of nowhere, and it was like really weird, abandoned. And then I walked through this door. There's like a freaking mess, like tore down bathroom that actually works, but it's all messed up. And then you walk into the room, and it's just a big old, it almost looked like a factory, but like in the middle of the room was just a ring with lights. I was like, like, what is this? And then that's when I met like Discovery, my very first teacher. You could say my lucha dad, in a sense, because that man taught me like everything from how to roll to how to sell, how to be a character, to how to flip. Even though I don't know how to flip, he always pushed me to do flips and stuff, even though I didn't like doing flips. and then it's slowly becoming my brother, and then my little brother started to train at the age of 5, so he was like tagging along just to do like just to get like his workout in and just to lose the energy because he was 5, he's running around doing stuff,
Right.
so might as well put the energy to use. And slowly but surely he started to tag along as well. And then next thing you know, everybody in there like doubted us because we're like, it's like, why is this dude bringing his kids to rest to train and stuff for this like hard? It was pretty hard because Disco was a very like hard-headed person, but he really showed you love at the end of the day when he wanted to. And so like those trainings on bumping on floors and taking bumps on cement floors and stuff, it really was making me a person hard in the outside so I could, be as good as I can in the ring. And
Yeah.
from there on, it was just push, 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 push from Disco because he wanted me to be like prepared to when my debut match was up. He wanted me to be like 100%. Like, I'm sure you have this. I don't want you to, mess up. I don't want you to get injured. Like, I want you to. I want to feel that you're prepared. And it took 3 years to debut because not everybody takes a long time to debut, and for me and my brother it took 3 years just
Okay.
to training and stuff to just to get our debut match. Just it wasn't even an exhibition match, it was a debut match because Disco was like the kind of person, like, again, like I said, like, you have to be prepared. I don't want you to like embarrass yourself or embarrass myself or embarrass the culture of lucha libre, because at the end of the day it deserves respect. And that's what he always was on: respect and discipline. And I
Yeah.
guess that's what made me the wrestler I am today. Because without him, it was like the foundation of Disco.
Right. You casually mentioned bumping on concrete. I don't know if
Yeah.
people like caught that. That's crazy to me. Do you have any more? Do you have any comments on bumping on concrete? I'm
I
interested
mean,
just by that phrase.
it's because it's disco training. I think Chico might have mentioned it. He always mentioned it. It's like on.
Yeah, it sounds sort of familiar, but still,
Yeah,
it shocked me. Still.
yeah. And so before we start like to know how to bumps and stuff in the ring, like, he taught us obviously how to bump in the ring, but he wanted to take it a step, like a step down, and just like, okay, let's bump on the cement floor so you can know how to protect yourself in just a worst case scenario. You don't want to hurt your neck, your head and stuff. So from there it was just building toughness out of us, I guess. And then and he kept saying, like, rolling on the floors, you will notice a difference in the ring because you're going to start protecting your body, and then you will have start more body control. That's what he said, but I don't know. But I just went with it, and I just kept going through it. It definitely sucked, but luckily we definitely endured like those types of trainings, and then slowly but surely it started to get easier for us, over the years.
Yeah, I guess if you're bumping on something you don't want to, like, you're supposed to like tuck your chin, right, to protect
Yeah,
your head.
tuck your chin.
So
Yeah.
you're not going to want to hit your head on concrete.
Nope.
So I guess it forces form on you.
Yeah,
That's what
practically just forces you just to protect yourself. And I was like, okay. And we definitely noticed, because it was definitely easier to roll in the ring because we like definitely trying to control our old body. So I was like, maybe he is right. He's like, Mr. Miyagi of lucha. That's the nickname my dad gave him, Mr. Miyagi, because literally it was like all these stuff, and it doesn't make sense, but it always does make sense. And he always imitates like the karate stuff, and I'm like, okay, Mr. Miyagi fits him because his unusual teachings always comes
Yeah,
to hand.
definitely.
Got it. So to recap, right? So your dad is Atomico
Yeah,
Senior.
Atomico Senior. He started before me. He same thing. He trained with Disco and everybody, and man, I love that guy. He's like, he's my dad and stuff, but like when it comes to wrestling, um, like, he always said, like, don't take family into wrestling. It's always be professional and be a wrestler. And that's where sometimes my mom doesn't get it, because if one day I go against my dad and I like, give him a couple chops, a couple good ones, just a couple paybacks for the times that you didn't give me my, you know, you didn't give me my paleta payaso and stuff.
There you go.
But yeah, my dad Atomico is the man, definitely the man.
Nice.
I mean, I can tell you, I've definitely like when I've gone to Galli shows and brought new people over, definitely, Atomico Senior stands out. Like from time to time, it's like, remember that guy that comes in dancing? What's his
Yeah,
name?
yeah.
Like, yep, you remember Atomico Senior for sure.
And
And then huh?
as soon as his music starts, everybody knows. Everybody knows it's him. Everybody
That's
knows.
such
It's
a
good.
great song.
Yeah, such a great song.
Then you have Traidor, who's your
Yeah,
brother.
my brother that follows me. That's 25.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then Atomico Junior,
Mm-hmm.
who's been rolling around since 5 years old.
Yeah. Since 5 years old.
And
Nice.
is that it?
And my sister as well, but
Your
she only
sister, right? I wasn't
yeah,
sure. Uh-huh.
she La Rebelde, but she only wrestled for like a year, and then she hurt her back and decided like, you know what, I don't want to keep hurting myself if it's gonna be like this. So she was
Sure.
like, I'd rather be safe than sorry.
Yeah,
For
fair.
She's
sure.
not the crazy one in the family, I guess.
Fair.
All right. So, we'll close off the salad bar right there. And in order for us to do so, I have to ask you, once the
Mhm.
mask is off and you're enjoying your salad, what is your favorite part of a salad?
Man, croutons maybe. I don't know.
Yes. Chalk
Oh,
up
see.
another one, baby. Chalk up another one. We're
I think
leading.
croutons.
Crouton people are leading these episodes.
It gives texture to the salad. It gives flavor sometimes.
Spoken like a true connoisseur.
Yeah.
Well, we'll leave it at that. But ranch, I'm with Stephen Wolf. All right. So onto the main course,
Yeah.
right? You talked about getting in the ring and training with disco. Can you talk about your Gali journey a little bit, right? And have you gone outside of Gali here locally in Chicago before we expand to outside of the lucha circle here in Chicago?
Do you mean like training wise or wrestling wise
No,
or
no,
both?
no, well, both. I mean, I don't know. Like, have you trained anywhere else in other
I mean,
areas here in Chicago? Have you
so I've
wrestled?
been training for like a really long time. Like it
Hmm.
is always like it's always Tuesdays and Thursdays for 3 hours, and I'm always there depending if there's nobody there or if it's just me and my brother. We're always there just practicing. And training wise, I definitely trained here. And then when Discovery left, Skydy came in, and he came like another profe for me, or a professor or a teacher or
Hmm.
mentor. So he definitely took me under his wing as long as everybody else for a couple of years, and I got to train under him. And one day he casually mentioned to my dad, like, "Why don't you send your son to Mexico to train with me for like a week or two, and I could take him around, maybe get him on some shows just so he could start getting a hang of it, maybe to get a taste of what it should be as a wrestler." And my dad was like, "Okay, I'll talk to him." And he came up to me and told me, and I was like, "For sure, I'm so down because I've never been to Mexico." And it's like, if I'm going down there to train and improve myself, I might as well go down there, especially with Skydy, because everybody down there, it's like you don't even know it, but like Skydy is like a really well known name. When I
Hmm.
go down there, it's every wrestler's like, "Oh, Skydy, Skydy, how you doing?" Like everybody shows him respect. So I was like, wow, I got to see that firsthand. And then training with him was definitely like an eye opener, because I was like, this is how luchadors train every day. It's like they show up to the gym, they lift weights for like an hour or so, get a good pump, and then another hour of training following that, just lucha libre. So weights, and then lucha libre, and then to finish it off is just cardio. So I was like, wow, this is definitely like a lot, but like it definitely sparked more motivation under me. So I was like, I really want this. So from
Yeah.
there it went from like training hunter to Discovery to Skyday, and then when Skyday left, that's when obviously Gringo Loco started to just show up, and he started to lead the trainings and stuff, and slowly but surely he like invited me over to training. It's like, "Hey man, do you like want to come to training and stuff?" Like, because he told me after the fact that he saw something that he didn't see in a lot of people, and he saw that I had the dedication and the push and to want this and the drive to do this, to make it something. So
Yeah.
he took me under his wing for a couple of years, and and I'm still under his wing till this day. And thankfully, like all those three people that taught me how to be a wrestler definitely shows today, I guess, because it's crazy how I went from training different people and then under like Disco, Skyday, and Charlie, and then slowly seeing those types of trainings in matches where I slowly started to grow as a wrestler in Galli, because a lot of people didn't. I was just like a regular old luchador, and then slowly but surely you could start telling the quality of wrestling that I started to give out with like
Nice.
every match, and then it's because it was instilled from Discovery, Skyday, and Gringo. They all had the same mentality, but different ideas. Where like you have to be good at something and make it good. You know, get the fans what they want. You know, make sure they leave home happy. Make sure you're safe. Make sure you put on a good match. And it's always like that from day one. So I'm grateful for like their teachings, because without them it wouldn't have made me who I am today as a wrestler, and I'm just super thankful for them.
Yeah, it seems like the training sounds intense.
Yeah.
Was there ever a point where how did you like persevere through all of that? It's just a drive you have, or like
It was just a drive. I was like, it definitely sucked because obviously if I'm doing cardio for like 30 minutes in an hour, I'm definitely suffering there. And I was like, why am I doing this? Is it really worth it? But like when I finished, I felt great because like, wow, I actually pushed through this. I actually endured this, and
yeah,
I feel great. Like even though I feel sore the next day, but I definitely felt accomplished. Like I did something
yeah.
good that day. So it was definitely like a drive, and it was definitely goals that I had in mind where I just wanted to keep pushing towards and see what happens. Keep pushing, keep pushing. You never know what happens.
Yeah. No, those are natural thoughts. I mean, anytime
Yeah,
someone does something strenuous, your brain tries to talk you out of it, right? Because it sucks. Like that's
yeah,
natural. Like sitting here working today hungover. That's what I
yeah,
did. And my brain was like, what are you doing? And I was like, I have to do this. I don't want to.
yeah,
So yeah, you're obviously doing a more different level of intensity, but I think that's natural thoughts to
yeah,
have.
yeah, basically. And then wrestling now, after like a couple years, I wasn't traveling outside of Galley. It was usually just Galley on Sunday, every Sunday, every Sunday. And
Mm-hmm.
then slowly but surely, once I started expanding my trying to reach new places, that's when like everything started to like kick off, where I started to wrestle in Indiana,
Okay.
Ohio. And I remember my first like very like not really big show, but you could say it was a big show. For I tagged along with Charlie. He was the first person. He told me, he's like, hey man, it's like there's an opportunity that came up for AIW. It's like it's in Ohio and Cleveland. Like we're gonna drive there. It's gonna be me, you, Shima, and a carload, and Bandolero. I was like, I mean, sure. It's like it's
Shima being DJC, right?
yeah, DJZ.
Yep.
And I
Mhm.
was like, yeah, I mean, if you're giving me the opportunity, I might as well go down there and see what happens, because if Charlie's giving me an opportunity, I might as well take it on.
Right.
And I remember driving down there, and it was like, I was like, I'm really doing this. Like I was looking around, and Shima's in front. Like me and Shima are like good friends. Like we've trained for so many years on the Discovery. Like even outside of Galley, when Disco wasn't training in Galley, it's like I always had a chance to go train over wherever he was at. And Shima was always there. Like you could see him, and we're always like, So I kind of knew Shima, but not that much, where I was like really surprised, like, wow, I'm actually driving to Ohio, Cleveland to wrestle. And then when we showed up there, it was a bar. And I remember the match. It was me and Charlie against Bandolero and Laredo Kid. That was the first time I first faced like a top guy, a top name or something
Mhm.
from
Yeah.
Mexico. So I was like, wow, it's like I'm really gonna verse Laredo Kid on my very first match in Cleveland, Ohio, in a bar. And so I was like, wow. And then I remember that show because Laredo Kid like suicide dived me so hard into the rail, like the rail hit to the side of my ear.
Oh shit.
I really thought I was going deaf. And at the end of the match, I was like suffering because I was like, oh, my ear hurts. And he came up and was like, oh, how are you doing, man? I was like, great. I'm doing fine. Because I didn't want to show him like I was hurt and stuff. But it was like uh, definitely my very first match where I thought where something could come from this. It gave me more hope to see like that crowd reaction where people actually stood up and I was like cheering. I was like, whoa, this is different, you know, because I'm guessing lucha crowds is very different to like American crowds, very different.
Right.
And it's like the lucha crowds just sit there and then wait to see if you do something cool, and then if you mess up, they tell you on it. If you don't mess up, you know. So that's why I appreciate both crowds, but I do like the American crowds because it's more loud, more rowdy and stuff. And I remember just driving home with Charlie and stuff, and like very felt very accomplished. And from there, it just started to take off little by little, you know, with like little shows here, like, and then like my very first time traveling outside of the United States was with Charlie as well. And it was in Canada, in Toronto for Super Kicked. And it was like another opportunity where he's like, hey man, there's like another opportunity that came up. It's like, are you willing to go down there? I was like, yeah. I was like, of course I'm willing to go down there. He's like, if it's another opportunity that you're giving me again, I was like, of course. So we go down there, and it was just the match was originally supposed to be me and Charlie against Jake Landers and Bandolero, and Bandolero decided to like bail out last second or last minute because I mean that's what Bandolero always does. You know, we already knew that. Like we expected this to happen, so we were prepared. And it turned into a three-way. So I was like, wow, we're like gonna do this three-way like us. I'm not even a flippy guy. He's like, I've been training to be a bass and stuff. And Charlie's like, no, you got this. Like you have like a bunch of cool stuff under your sleeves. Like, why don't you just do it today? And I'm like, all right, let's mess around and see what happens. And it was like it turned out to be a really good match where everybody was just like on their feet, they were like super loud. And that was like the first time also where it's like I just reached another goal of mine where I just traveled outside of the United States to wrestle for a different crowd that I never thought that I was able to reach or to able to, you know, to keep them up their feet all the time. So
Yeah.
definitely exciting with all these small shows and these bigger shows with Charlie. Charlie definitely helped a lot in this, like pushing me and getting me out there and stuff. So thankful for him because, and then
So
I remember,
with opportunities coming up and you know you know traveling and going to different places as a luchador, like and you know I see this and to a degree I feel bad for like the American wrestler, right? Because as a luchador you bring that culture with you just for the sake of having a mask in your lucha style, but then you have this banger of a match and then the dollars start flying in, right? The
yeah,
if you're in Mexico, it's the pesos that fly in or
yeah,
whatever it is, like, and you get that like crowd ovation. Like the American wrestler gets a standing ovation, and that's
yep,
that.
yep,
But to the point that you know with the luchador, like you get up after your seat and you reach for that dollar, that $5, whatever bill you have, and gets thrown in the ring.
yeah.
When was that first experience for you, and how did that feel?
Wow. So hard to remember. I'm not saying this because I had so many, but like there were so many good matches that I felt that deserved money, but obviously we weren't as good as we thought. The very first one that I remember the first time was me and Charlie against Caristico and Billy. There might have
Mm,
been one before, but like that one was the one that marked like the for sure like wow, this is
yeah,
happening.
that
Like
stands out.
that one's the standout because I remember like the very beginning of the match, we're in there, you know, me and Charlie go in, do our regular entrance and stuff, and you know we're waiting, we're warming up, and they announce Billy, and we're like, oh whatever, it's Billy and stuff, and then and as soon as they called Caristico out, that's when like the me and Charlie had a moment where like he's like, yo, he's actually coming out, bro, and we're actually gonna have a match against Caristico. It's like
Right,
mystical, like the mystical, and I'm
the
like there in
OG.
business, yeah, like I'm there in business mode, like ready to like knock this out of the park. And he tells me that I didn't like receive it as like the way I should have in the beginning, but at the end when I realized what he told me, I was like, damn, he actually like we were in the ring with Caristico, like the mystical. And then when the money started flying in, it was like definitely a great feeling because at first I didn't know how that felt, but when it started raining money, I was like, what the? I was like, is that happening? Like for real? It's like it's really happening. So I was like, wow, it's actually like I felt great. I felt like I accomplished something. I felt like I proved Mystico. I proved the fans that I could at least keep up with, you know, the guys from Mexico. CMLL, Consejo, and like the top guys. So that was like the very first one that stood out to me. There's probably more before, but that's the one that stood out.
Yeah, it's got to be confidence building.
Yeah, it is, because as soon as you start feeling that money stuff, you just want to see if you can keep going towards that. And not all matches gonna have money matches, like
Right.
not always, but those really good ones, you'll know when it's like a really good one. You will have that feeling like, okay, this might happen today. But
Nice.
we're never always focused of having like, oh, we want money, and throwing it.
Sure.
Right. It's just kind of like a side effect of what you produced in the ring that night.
Yeah, it's always having the mentality of having a great match and seeing what we could like knock out of the park this time. It's like, what can we top our last match from the match before? So it's always that. It's always to top each match.
That is the Lucha style. I feel like it's how can we take it one little notch higher?
Yeah,
like Ray Phoenix always does that.
Oh man,
he always seems like outdo himself.
You guys had a long training session with him, right?
Oh yeah, like I think it was 3 hours training session. It was me, Charlie, and Ray Phoenix. It was exactly the same day we came back from Toronto, where we were like coming back, and he had a phone call. We arrived from the airport. He was on the phone. I didn't know who it was, and we're waiting. And I'm like, "Hey Charlie, can you just drop me off my house? I live like 5 minutes away." And he's like, "Yeah." And he's talking on the phone, and he's like, "What?" He's like, "You're here?" It's like, "Your flight's canceled." And I'm like, "Who could it be?" And he's like, "Hey man, it's like Phoenix said he wants to train. You down to train?" I'm like, "Is that even a question?" Like, come on. It's like, I'm here. I have no work. Let's just go train. So on the way there, I called my dad and I told him like, "Hey bro, it's like, don't call me. Like, I'm gonna be training." It's like, okay. It's like, why? He's like, "Who are you training with?" He's like, "Ray Phoenix." He's like, "What?" He's like, "You're training with Ray Phoenix?" Yeah, I'm gonna train with Ray Phoenix. And then like we trained. It was like the most. Charlie says the same thing all the time. It was the best training that we ever had. There were so many things that just was mind blowing. Even like he didn't even pull out none of the stuff yet. Like all this stuff is still like kept secret. Like it was just happy to see that we're training with one of the best wrestlers in the world.
Yeah.
To see like the ideas that he came up and how he came up and how he helped us improve in our work as well. Because he wasn't like, "Oh no, I'm gonna keep all this stuff to myself." He like shared the knowledge. He took his time to train. But obviously at that point it was just like, let's see what ideas we could pull off today, and just mess around and see what happens.
Yeah, that's really cool. I want to point out too that anytime you say Charlie, you're referring to Gringo Loco. Just for people aren't familiar with his first name, not me. My name is also Charlie. I'm not jumping around in the ring with Ray Phoenix. But I just want to point that out in case anyone is confused at this point. Like these are all awesome stories, but I just want to
just a little more on Gringo. Like he just had that GCW show in Texas, right?
Yeah.
So that's where I was kind of trying to connect that. That's the last time I remember money being thrown at the ring was when you had your match.
Yeah, that was
Octagon Jr. Who else was there?
Drago Kid, Arrow Boy, Shane Mercer, and Chris Carter.
Right. The fact that Shane Mercer was thrown into that lucha mix was amazing.
It was just great. I was like, man, this big old dude is gonna start throwing people around. Yeah. I was praying to God I wasn't one of them.
I was gonna say, I just imagine him launching people in that match, just like throwing them.
Yeah, that's so great. Like that match was like, now that you said it, like to try to connect the dots, it was definitely like the long road, hard road to get there was well worth it. It was definitely worth it. At the moment, I didn't. Again, I still had the adrenaline after the match. I was still like I was still in character, and I'm still selling, and I was still hurt. So as soon as they started throwing, I was like, "Oh, that's cool." But when I sat in the back, I was thinking, I was sitting there, taking off. No, I didn't take off my stuff because there was another thing where I was supposed to do, but it didn't. Unfortunately, didn't happen because there were so many wrestlers in the clusterfuck. So I was supposed to. So Charlie comes up to me after the match. He's like, "Hey man, don't change. You might be in the clusterfuck. They might need you." I'm like, "All right." So I sit there and I'm like reminiscing. I'm like taking in everything that just happened because I was like, "Man, we just had a good match. We had money thrown on Charlie's first ever lucha show, and we're the first ever match to have money thrown in his show." And I was like, "Wow, this is like crazy how far we came. Because again, I never expected to be where I'm at today at all. Like if you told me at 12 years old, it's like, hey, you're gonna accomplish all these things, you're gonna face all these wrestlers, all these big names, you know, you're gonna get there one day. You're gonna hopefully you're gonna accomplish everything that you were trying to get accomplished. I wouldn't have believed you. At that moment, I still didn't believe it because it was so surreal, and it's still surreal when I'm still talking about it today. Because I was like, wow, it's like for him to have his first ever lucha show and have me in a match was definitely one of those like wow, like definitely well worth it. Definitely well worth it.
Yeah. To put it in I think to maybe for a frame of reference, you have a poster behind you. Once again, if you're watching on YouTube, and it's Lucha Underground. We've talked. Chris and I have watched that show in the past. Talked a lot about it. That show was on. Yeah, that show was on Netflix. There you go.
Yeah.
You guys who were on that show on Netflix, you've wrestled in the ring, plenty of them. So that's almost like if I was trying to be an actor and I had a scene, a 5-10 minute scene with someone who also was an actor on Netflix or something like that. So it's just like that kind of puts it, I think, into perspective. Like you've gone toe to toe with people that have reached a very high peak.
Yeah, and when fans bring up like all these big names, to me it's like when they tell me, it's like, oh, I never knew like it was that cool, because for me it was just another goal of mine, just to see what I just to prove myself, because every day, every match is like I got to prove myself to be better. It's like I have to be better because I want to make something out of this. And then when they do tell me all this stuff, I look back and I was like, yeah, I definitely faced a lot of big names where all of them say good things about me, and it always rebounds to Skyday. And the last time that Skyday came up to me and told me, he's like, "Hey man, it's like I just want to tell you I'm proud of you, man." It's like Laredo Kid, Ares, Aramis, everybody, like all the lucha names that from Mexico have told me, it's like, "Hey, he's doing good." It's like he's doing good. He's on his way. He's on his way. So he told me, it's like they're telling me good things about you. It's like just keep it up. So.
That's awesome. It's like stopping and smelling the roses for a second.
Yeah, because I don't like to brag about all these big like these big matches and stuff, because it's just match. I mean, for me, it's matches. For everybody else, it's like, oh wow, he just went toe to toe with like Bandito. But like for me, it was like I just proved myself against the best in the world, and I want you guys to at least pay attention to see what's going to happen next.
Sure,
absolutely, and I think pre-pandemic. So every year we do a end of the year recap, just talking about shows we attended, people, matches that are highlights to us throughout the year or whatnot. And we're just a local podcast here, but in one of our predictions, like pre-COVID, my prediction was that you were going to be the breakout because you were in that trajectory. I was like, Golden Dragon is going to be the breakout of whatever year that was. But the pandemic hit and that kind of put things on hold. But I see you kind of like picking that up, and now the momentum's going, right? Yeah. So again, another testament to the hard work pays off thing, right? Yeah. You've been at it, you haven't given up, like you're fighting through it. And yeah, to you is like, I'm here, I'm gonna do my job, I'm gonna be a professional and have this great match. For us as fans, is like he just proved that he can go toe to toe with X legend or X wrestler or the hot wrestler on the scene right now, etc. Yeah. So, we just as fans appreciate that effort, right? Because it shows.
Yeah. And it's again, it goes back to like you guys definitely deserve, as fans, deserve everything, like the best out of a wrestler, and it always should be like that. It's like you always give the best to the fans because they deserve it. They always deserve it because they paid a seat to see you guys. It's like they paid to watch you guys, so at least give them something to take home to be like, wow, they did something. So definitely, like it's great to feel that.
Yeah, and on that note, what is next? What's one thing that you're working to?
Are we gonna add some gold? You got gold on your face, gold on your costume, or your suit. Are we gonna add some gold around that waist, or?
So currently, right now, I'm holding 2 title belts. I don't have them with me, but like, I have the Discovery belt for Galli, and then my brother Atomico Jr. just won the IWRG tag titles for Arena Naucalpan in Mexico City. So that's like
cool.
definitely a big deal for us because those are like, the titles I've been in for like, maybe like 15 years or so, but it still had names being held along with the title. So it's definitely another testament of our hard work that pays off. And now we get to prove, as alongside with my brother, to prove ourselves as a tag team and to give, everything we can for those belts and put them, in a higher place if we
Definitely.
can. Yeah. Gold that's basically all the belts that I have. Other than that, but other places I might be debuting in Canada around June. Don't know where yet, but keep on a lookout for that. And then I might be back in Mexico again sometime after June. So again, keep on a lookout at that. Definitely, you'll see me at some Galli shows. Hopefully, you might see me at some random GCW shows. Who knows? Hopefully, at Warrior shows. Still unknown yet, but definitely trying to push through and get get my name out there and see where what happens. And might see me in New York as well again. So
I think you'll conquer North America if you can hit Canada. Then like all
that's
the
like
countries.
Canada is like my favorite place. It's like the third time we've grown there, and then hopefully, so hopefully it's a good one, a good match, a good banger match. So
definitely,
you never know. But other than that, that's all about that I know about shows. Usually, whatever comes through, I post them and let everybody know. Like, hey, I'll be at this show at this time and stuff. So definitely, still, dates are still open. You just never know where I show up.
All right. So to close off the hot plate, like what is on your main course? What would you put on that main plate?
The goal of mine, is that what you're trying to say?
No. Just an actual.
We're back to actual food questions.
This is an actual food question.
Okay. This might be hard. Ooh. Man, just because I'm a foodie. Like you can't tell, but I eat a lot sometimes, and I like to eat food, like really good food. If it's really bad food, I usually say somebody like, "Hey, that's not it." But I'm a big pizza guy.
Okay. Definitely. What kind though? You got. I mean, there are many different kinds of pizza.
Oof. I can mess around with some deep dish pizza from Giordano's.
Okay.
Definitely mess with that.
Okay.
Sausage.
Pineapple on pizza?
I don't know. No? I tried it before. It's like I get why people like it, but it's like it's fruit on pizza. I don't know. I might
put it that way.
Yeah. I mean, I might have to try it again to maybe get the taste for it. It's just like beer. Like beer tastes nasty at the very beginning, but you get
it's an acquired taste. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, definitely pizza. I'm a big pizza guy. So.
Cool.
All right. So it's time for dessert. What other interests do you have outside of wrestling?
Before wrestling, I used to play a lot of soccer. I mean, now with like personal life and stuff, it's just work and wrestling usually. I still watch soccer, but here and there. Maybe sometimes some UFC, but not always. It's like whenever it's on. I just stumble across. But like, I definitely venture. I might not look as like a person that likes to watch ghost stuff, but I like to watch ghost stuff. Like,
the supernatural.
The supernatural, because it always captures me in some way. Always nice. So I mean, outside of wrestling is usually just me working and then training. Nothing too crazy. Sometimes I'll be like,
Hey man, ghost is. I mean, depending on how deep you go down that ghost rabbit hole, that shit can get wild.
I know. I just started exploring. It's just crazy how broad it could just open up. I'm like, wow. Every episode, every show, everything that I see is like just wow. Is this even possible?
Yeah. Have you had any experience in any? Have you dabbled with like mediums or people that can? So there's different, right? There's different. People believe, people don't believe, but anyone that can like talk. Have you gone any like? It's not. I don't want to say fortune teller. I think they're called like mediums.
Yeah.
Basically, where you can anything like that or no?
No, my parents are like. My parents are like kind of religious towards that. Like, if you try to see, like, even when I watch these like stuff, he's like, "Oh, you're watching don't watch that because you're always gonna see something. You're always gonna complain. There's always something in the room. It's like, don't watch that.
Okay.
Every time I tell them, like, yo, I just heard something, they're like, oh, go pray in front of God right now. Go pray in front of the altar. So they're like, they're strict at sometimes, but they're like, they know it's like, hey, they're watching it. That's their problem. They get whatever.
Yeah. And then so speaking of soccer, so World Cup this year, right? I mean, I'm pumped for that.
I haven't been keeping up with it. I definitely should start keeping up because usually towards the World Cup, I always on it. I'm always watching it.
Yeah.
But like again, like with me focusing with work and then wrestling, it's always I never have time. I just always need to see what I try to get it in as much as I can. But definitely excited for this year because I'm really excited.
Yeah.
Once the World Cup kicks off, like we'll catch a few games here and there, and
usually, but depending on where it is, they're usually like on at like 8, 10, or like 8, 11, and 2. So it's like if you have a desk job like me, I can watch it, but then I slack off. So it depends on what you're doing during the day.
Yeah.
This year, I think the games will start like at noon, so from noon to 4. So it'll definitely cut into work time, but it's the World Cup, right? Happens every 4 years, so
you gotta watch it.
And it'll be around November, right? So that's also something different. It usually happens around June, July.
Oh, it's later.
Yeah, because it's in Qatar. It's going to be super hot during the summer, so they've actually pushed it out. So it's quote unquote winter, but that means that they'll be playing at 80-degree weather where it's not 120.
Just insane. I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole. There's been so many complexities with having it in Qatar. That's a whole rabbit hole we don't need to go down. But so I don't know. You get to enjoy your summer then, I guess, during the day, and then it'll mix with American football and football season is going to mix this year. It sounds like.
All right. So, are you ready for the word association part?
Yeah. Let's see what happens.
So, like, this was like 75% Charlie here. And not Gringo Loco, Charlie, 2 heels in the face, Charlie. Chuck _ Colorado. So let's see what we get. All right. So again, 1-word answers, and here we go.
Okay.
First is Galli Lucha Libre.
Home.
GCW.
A goal.
Venta el Cero Miedo. Wow is right.
Is that your answer? No, you can think of something if you want.
Dream. You can say dream.
Okay.
Carlos Robles.
Annoying.
Atómico Senior.
Superhero.
Lucha Underground.
Lucha Underground. I don't know. It's definitely hard to come up with one word because Lucha Underground is really like great in every aspect. Like they gave you everything. So, I mean, fun.
That works. It is fun. It's fun to watch.
Sky then.
Teacher.
Último Dragón.
Wow. Oh, wow. Último Dragón. I don't even know. It's so hard to connect. Like, oh, man.
I love how intense you're. This is like you should be, and that's fine.
Yeah,
how intense you're thinking about everyone.
Yeah, it's because it means like each person means something.
Yeah, you can tell that they've all had an impact.
Yeah, they all had an impact. This is an impact.
Okay. I threw you an alley-oop.
Gringo Loco.
Oh my God, brother. That's
good.
My dude.
Discovery.
Grandfather.
Yeah.
There you go.
You might have shed a tear, depending on who's listening. There might have been a tear shed in that.
Yeah.
I was gonna get choked up for a second during some of those. The superhero one, I think, was my favorite, obviously, because the story you told and how it was like a surprise to you, and so that's really cool.
Carlos Robles annoying. That was great.
Didn't come from my mouth. Did not come from my mouth.
You could tell him I said it because I always tell him. He always knows that every time he comes in the back and you hear him yelling, it's always something. He's always complaining about something, and I'm always sitting there like, oh man, I get to hear this stuff again. You know. But at the end of the day, it's Carlos, and you never change it. It's always a good thing to see Carlos yelling. That's when you know he's there.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right, so that concludes the wrestling buffet line. How do you feel?
Feel good. I feel full, I guess. Full, really full.
There you go. Boom.
There you go.
Full.
That's how you do it. And then we're at like almost like basically an hour, a couple 20 seconds over. So I think we made good time.
Yeah. Definitely happy, excited to get this out of the way. Definitely well worth it. I was super happy when you guys told me like, hey, we need to get you guys on. I was like, yes, I need to get on.
Absolutely. I know you 100% earned it. And like I said, when we were in the intro, and I'm not saying that like, oh, we're this prestigious podcast. Like no, like you've caught our eye and you're someone we've wanted to have a conversation with. Chris has built that rapport in meeting you. And he's always been like, yeah, Golden Dragon is always down to come on.
Yeah.
And it just kept getting pushed back and stuff. But it was like, this is long overdue. I'm really glad we got to talk.
Yeah. No worries. There's always more stories to add on the longer usually.
Yeah. Keep doing your thing, man. I'm sure we'll to have another conversation down the road for sure.
Always open for a second one. There's always more stuff to tell about, So definitely excited for one, hopefully.
Nice.
But before we let you go, where can people find you online? I got your Twitter right here. But I don't know if you have Instagram, Facebook, anything that you want to promote.
Yeah, Instagram, the Golden Dragon _1, and then Facebook should be Golden Dragon. It's a Facebook page. You can probably look me up there. And then usually I'm more active on Instagram. You see me posting stories and pictures and whatever, all that stuff, and the next dates that I have to show up, and always update a lot of people there. But I'm trying to be active, trying to be active on all accounts.
For sure.
Gotcha. Well, again, like we said, we appreciate your time. We appreciate you coming on, and we'll definitely carve some room later down the road so you can update us on your successes. And at some point, I'll be able to hopefully get the whole Atomico dynasty, and we can do a podcast. I've told Charlie this idea, and I'll put it out there.
This one's a bit even longer, even like this one came before we put your name on it. This has been an idea that's been sitting for like years.
Right. Like I want to be able to have, Atomico Junior, Atomico Senior, Traidor, yourself. And if it has to be in Spanish, it'll be in Spanish. If it's bilingual, it's bilingual. We'll figure that out. But I would definitely love to hear from all of you. I think it's super cool that you guys are a wrestling family out of Chicago, and you guys have done so much, and people know who you are. So at some point we'll book that, and hopefully you guys will be down for it.
Of course. I'll make sure to talk to them. They're always down. They're always open for podcasts and stuff to tell their story. More so my dad, because he's always the one that likes to talk. So once you get him going,
there you go.
That might be like a 2-hour, 3-hour long episode, but I think it's a great idea that Chris has.
But again, we're always open for the idea, and I think they would love that idea.
Cool.
All right, sounds good. All right, until next time, for you listeners, you can find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at 2 Heels in the Face, at 2 Heels in the Face. That's number 2 Heels in the Face, 2heelsintheface.com. And any closing remarks, Charlie?
No. Thanks for my you gave me some life today, Golden Dragon, because I sleptwalked through my entire work day. But thanks for Chris for taking the lead, and thank you, the listener, for listening. I appreciate you.
All right. Well, thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.